Welcome, Caleb's Basketball Pod. Since last recording, we've seen six game twos in the NBA playoffs, so we have a lot to talk about. Let's jump right in. That very night from the last day I recorded, we saw game two of Milwaukee, Indiana. Very interesting series. We've seen Dame Lillard come back. It does not look like he is 100% ready. Looks like he kind of rushed it a little bit from game one. He looks out of sync and a little out of shape. Mind you, he hasn't played basketball in over a month. But he put up 13 points, and we saw the Bucks lose another one in Indiana. And we always hear a playoff series doesn't really start until one team steals a game on the road. And so far, we haven't seen that. Indiana goes 2-0 in Indiana. Our next game, game three, is shifting to Milwaukee, where it's very do or die. Even Giannis said these games now seems like it's all or nothing at this point. Pretty much do or die is what he was saying for every single game left. People's wondering if he's being cryptic, if he's saying that if Milwaukee loses and if they lose in the first round that he's out and he means for the team. But I think he just means in general. In the playoffs, it could mean the other way. But in the playoffs, if you go down 3-0, and even if you're in Milwaukee for game four, you're still down 3-0. And even if you find a way to win that game four, you're going back to Indiana. So it's exactly what I said. Every game from here on out, especially when you're down 2-0, the games from here on out seem like they have to be do or die because it ends up being your season on the line. You could go down 3-0, and we've never seen in the NBA a team come back and win a series from down 3-0. We've seen a couple game sevens, but that's as far as we've got. So it's exactly what Giannis said. Every game from here on out is do or die. A big adjustment that the Bucks need to work on is the defensive side. We're seeing Indiana pretty much get any shot they want against Milwaukee, and it seems like it's pass, open three. Pass, open three. They need adjustment. They need to be quick on their rotations. A lot of times when Brook Lopez is out there and you're playing that drop coverage, you're allowing so much space from your man and yourself when you're playing that drop. Sometimes other guys have to rotate because Brook's in drop. So at that point, you end up leaving the corner of the wing somewhere open. They look a step slower to me. Milwaukee does in all their rotations and their movements. And offensively, they've been struggling to find anyone but Giannis. As I mentioned, Dame Lillard came back, but it looks like he's still a little bit out of shape, and he's still trying to get back into being himself. He was out for over a month, so that's understandably so. You don't want to rush him back so much that you don't get the full Damian Lillard, so there's the other side of it. But when it comes down to it, this game is do or die for Milwaukee. They have to win game three. It's in Milwaukee. You have to win it. You have to get some momentum. Mind you, the Bucks were into the playoffs on a big win streak, and then we're seeing it crumble, and we're seeing the Pacers just do what they've done the last couple seasons. When it gets to March and April, they turn into a different team than what we see from the months prior. So we're seeing that again, and you can't count out the Pacers against anyone in any series right now in the East because they are just playing really good basketball. Ball movement's been great. Defense is much improved. And Pascal Siakam's being the guy when you need a shot late in the game down the stretch. Right now, the Pacers are showing they have the all, but I need to see something from Milwaukee. I need to see something different. I don't know if that's maybe a lineup change. Brook goes to the bench. We saw the most success for Milwaukee when Bobby Portis was in at the 5. So maybe he plays either the center spot, or we can rotate Kevin Porter Jr. in the starting lineup and maybe put Giannis at the 5 spot. But you have to try something. Right now it's not working, and I think even like just coaching the up in general, I think you have to make some type of change. Send a message to your team that you want the best out of them, and I'm willing to put anyone on the bench and do whatever I have to get that. Next up, we had game 2 of Memphis, Oklahoma. It's not really much you can say about this series besides it's over in 4. I kind of mentioned that Memphis is just in a bad spot. I honestly don't think Ja is a number 1 option on a championship team. I think he's a good 2 or 3 option, second or 4th option, but I just don't think he can be your number one guy. And also with him being the number one guy, he's not showing he knows how to distribute the ball, how to still make Jaren Jackson that 24-point game score, or get Desmond Bane better looks, stuff like he's not doing that. We're seeing Ja's numbers go up, the other two's numbers go down, and we're seeing loss after loss after loss, and it looks like Oklahoma's playing a JV team right now. So it's pretty bad. And on the flip side, looking at Oklahoma, I'm not going to say that this is a cakewalk series because it's professional NBA players, professional NBA team, but Oklahoma's playing such good basketball, they're making it look like it's just a walk in the park. It's just so easy and so simple to them right now. That's going to be a tough team to beat in the West. I said that before the season started, but I still believe it's possible to beat them out West. It'll be a very interesting second round series between Oklahoma and possibly either the Clippers or the Nuggets. That's going to be where we see what the Thunder's made of, so stay tuned for that. The other game we had on Tuesday night was Lakers Minnesota. So right now we've seen dominant game from the Wolves. They win big. Pretty dominant game from the Lakers. The score looked a lot closer than the game actually was. But nonetheless, dominant game from the Lakers. Dominant defensively. We saw only 85 points allowed for the Minnesota Timberwolves. Really good defense from the Lakers. We saw them slow the pace down. Work on getting those layups to limit the long rebounds from the missed three-pointers, which getting layups allows you to get back and set your defense, which in turn made things a lot more difficult on Minnesota. They went from 21 threes to 5, so that's a big discrepancy right there. And then the other thing is we're seeing Luka as the best player on the floor, and we've seen that, I would say, pretty much in both games. Despite Minnesota winning the first game and by dominant fashion, Luka was still the guy for that game. When are we going to see Anthony Edwards be the best guy on the floor? We know it's in him, and we have yet to see that. Maybe he'll feed off of this Minnesota crowd, and maybe he'll get there. But for the Wolves to have any shot to win this series, he's going to have 2 or 3 of these next possibly 5 games. And he's going to be the best player in at least 2 or 3 of them for the Wolves to win this series. So that's what I'm going with. But on the other side of it, for the Lakers, we haven't seen a LeBron James game, a vintage LeBron James playoff game either. So those are 2 things to watch as this series keeps going. The other thing to watch too is I talked about the switch and getting Gobert on LeBron or Luka. Something I don't necessarily like. The Wolves are willingly doing that, and they're not willing to give and Gobert help on that. And we're seeing Luka take his time and get whatever shot he wants. You have to speed that up a little bit. Even if you bring a double every time Gobert gets switched and you get the ball out of Luka's hands, make someone else shoot, because the Lakers shooting has not been great in this series. So you kind of steal a page from the Lakers book, in my opinion, if you're the Wolves. When Gobert gets switched on to Luka, you send that double and you send it quick. And now at that point, you're going to make Luka have to pass, and you're going to leave someone open for 3, and you're just hoping the bad shooting continues. If it's not continuing, you let Gobert stay on the island and hope for the best. But at some point, you're giving up more points when Gobert's staying on that island and Luka's finding his shot, finding his 3, finding his drive, finding his lanes, and he's just looking like a superstar. So my opinion, you need to work on not switching, double teaming Luka on those, getting the ball out of Luka's hands quicker, and trying to rotate or whatever, or leave who you feel's going to miss open and give them more shots. Also nearly similar to what the Lakers did to the Rockets back in the bubble when they had Russell Westbrook and they left Russ open all game and he really, really shot bad. And it's stuff like that you can do. And it's not only a good strategy, but it's also can be a mind game on some players, because these players think that, you make in the NBA, there's no doubt you're one of the best athletes in the world. But if you're leaving someone open and open and open, and you're like, we don't believe in you, that eventually gets to their confidence sometimes, or it can go the opposite way. But it's good to kind of get temperature for it and see where it's at. and just try it. But right now, what they're doing for Luka is not working. We're seeing him dominate the game, and he's been the best player in this series and one of the best players in the playoffs so far. Switching to last night's games, we saw Boston win against Orlando, game 2 in Boston, but without Jason Tatum. I'm watching this game and I'm seeing this was Orlando's shot to take one in Boston. I'm not saying you're going to beat the Celtics in a series, but if you want a shot to beat the Celtics in a series, you had to take the game without Tatum in Boston, where you have a chance to go back to Orlando tied 1-1. You couldn't do that. Paolo's been playing amazing, but the lack of help and the lack of offense Orlando has is not doing him any favors. Derek White's been huge. Jaylen Brown had a big game last night, and we know he's dealing with that bone bruise in his knee that he's getting shots for before the games. But he played a huge part, and the Celtics are just showing why they're the NBA champions, because it's not about one guy. It's about Tatum don't play. We have these pieces to come in, not do what Tatum does, but you don't need to do what Tatum does. You need fit into a spot and fit into your role, and that's what these guys off the bench come in and do. We saw Al Horford come in for Jason Tatum, and they didn't look as good offensively, but they still put up 109 points. They still won by 9 points without their best player giving him valuable resting time, because we are in the playoffs and he needs to heal that wrist up. So it's just, that's why they're a championship team, and they're showing us right now. So Orlando do or die like Milwaukee. Orlando needs this next game. Most people's predicting at this point a Boston sweep just because of how bad Orlando's offenses look. But, Jamal Mosley's going to make adjustments, and I think Orlando will at least be able to take one in Orlando. And if they get game 3, who knows? They may get enough momentum to get game 2. Especially if Tatum misses 1 or 2 of those games, so we don't know. But Orlando has to fight back now, and they have to get something going on offense. If you're Orlando, you have to be more creative. You have to come up with screens, pin downs, something to get good looks, something to get someone going, to get them, to feed them a little bit, get some shooting like Paolo is doing the best he can. He's looking like the best player in the whole series, but he's looking like he just does not have enough around him to really even compete. Another game we seen last night was Cleveland-Miami. If you're watching the first half, fourth quarter, you're thinking, Cleveland. Miami made a really strong late game push, cut it to 2 in the fourth quarter, but Donovan Mitchell was too much for them. In my opinion, from that game, Cleveland's defense just looked lazy. They looked like they got a lead and they kind of were like, hey, we have this, is what it looked like to me. And Miami really got going and really started hitting shots. And we saw other guys struggle as the game was getting closer. DG struggling to hit shots. Max Strus struggling to hit. He airballed a couple shots. Evan Mobley had 20 points, but he wasn't giving the ball much in that late game situation. So Donovan Mitchell took over and they won. But you have to avoid a letdown like that in Miami, because if it happens in Miami with the power of that Heat crowd and how fired up they're going to be, you're going to let Miami steal a game or 2. So if you're Cleveland, you have to close these guys out quick if you get them on the ropes. And just because of how well disciplined and coached they are, you can't play around with them. You have to get them on the ropes, put your foot on their neck and stomp and keep going. If you let your foot up off their throat, then they're going to come back and they're going to get you, and they almost did. The other thing, if you're Miami, for this, you can't put yourself in a hole against this talented of a team. I would say this good of a team, but we're still seeing what they can do in the playoffs. But the talent is there on this team, and if you did put yourself in that hole, and then you went on this run that you went on late in that midway through that fourth quarter, you'd have had a lead because you would have not been in such a deep hole. So it's about playing consistent and playing throughout the game and not getting down 19 points in a game and keeping it close, then going on that one. Now you have that lead. So that's what I'm thinking of that series. Next up, we had Golden State, Houston. We saw Jimmy Butler. The big story for this game was he came down hard, landed on his lower back area, butt area, but we hope he's okay. We hope he's good to go for the next game. But without Jimmy Butler, that Warriors team did look like the same team we've been seeing. And people talk about how good Steph is, and he is. And he makes a huge difference on any team. But without Jimmy, Steph was not leading the Golden State Warriors to a great season. It was an up and down season. With Jimmy, they were looking like a top team in the Western Conference, and then you saw them revert back to that bad style of basketball, almost like no motivation, not as much hope, not as much like, hey, we got this no matter what the score is, we can come back and win. Looks like we went away from that for Golden State when Jimmy was out. So we need to find that fire again, and we're hoping Jimmy's good to go for this next game. But if he's not, you need to play with that same energy. It's not about the guys on the floor. It's about playing with that same energy, staying consistent. The guys on the floor help because of how talented they are and what certain guys can do that some guys can't. But it's like I said, with the Celtics, you're without Tatum, you go out and you don't miss a beat. You win by 9 points in Boston, and everyone's saying, hey, that's a great win because our best player, Jason Tatum, didn't play. Jimmy Butler's your second best player. He didn't play, and you look like you just fell apart. That's where Golden State needs fixed things, mature, and we know Steve Kerr's a great coach, so he's going to game plan with or without Jimmy Butler differently. On the Rockets side of things, way to bounce back. You got beat. I said on the last one, you aren't going to beat the Warriors. It's not going to go long in the series if Jalen Green don't turn you on. Well, what does 38 points say? It says Jalen Green said, yeah, exactly. And he turned you on. He came out and he said, no, I'm hearing people say that we aren't going to win this series or even go 7 if I don't play how I should be playing. He gives you 38 points. And what happens? Houston dominates. He gave what we were looking for. He won that guard matchup against the Golden State Warriors against Stephen Curry. That's really huge, and that's saying something. And I think we all know with how Jalen Green plays, he's built for this moment. He just needs to show consistently he's built for this moment. But all in all, Jalen Green, they have the talent. They have Jalen Green, Fred VanVleet. Fred VanVleet, former NBA champion, he's been there before. So you lean on that experience, you use the talent of Green and Şengün, the defense of Dillon Brooks, the defense and energy of Thompson, and you have a squad, you have a shot to beat the Golden State Warriors in this series, despite you being the higher seed, people saying you're the underdog. You have a shot to shock the world and go out there and do that, and that's what you need to focus on and do. One game at a time, and whatever Jalen Green did before this game, do it again because you're going Golden State and that crowd's going to be hyped. So that's going to be a very interesting game 3, and it's going to give someone full control of this series. So that's another series to watch. But we have good playoff games coming up. I'll be back tomorrow to recap tonight's games, and then I'll get back to you guys on Monday and get another pod out Monday or Tuesday. So then we'll talk about what games happened over the weekend. But have a nice night, and thank you guys for watching.